can't answer any questions or take any questions. Mr. Mazzaglia has an open case that's going to be tried in this county court in about a month and a half. So given that he does have an open case, we can't comment further on this case or that case or answer any questions. I do want to just make a couple of brief comments before Lizzie's family speaks. This sentencing was the culmination of a lot of work from a lot of people from a lot of different agencies, some of whom are seen behind me. Today would not have happened but for the work that they all did in this case. We want to thank the jurors for their service in this very long and very difficult trial, and we want to thank Lizzie's friends and family for their perseverance over the last year and a half. Other than that, again, I can't take any questions or make any comments, given that Mr. Mazzaglia does have that open case. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the press. My name is Lizzi Marriott, and I'm Lizzie's mother. I would like to start by thanking the good people of the Seacoast area for helping us search for Lizzie during those first frantic days, and then go on to search for her body when we got the several news of her murder. Excuse me. I would also like to thank all of the law enforcement agencies that were involved in this case, which you just saw a few seconds ago. I'm very grateful for all your efforts running down leads, conducting interviews, and collecting evidence. I will not be challenging the detective who pieced those letters back together to the daily jigsaw puzzle. And Mr. Attorney General, I hope you're very proud of everyone in your office who worked on this case, especially Peter, Jeff, and Bridget. They could not have been any more professional, thorough, or compassionate. Their tireless work got us here today. 22 months is a very long time to remain silent. But right from the beginning, Bob and I decided that this is what we would do, as not to say anything that would hinder the prosecution in their efforts to win a conviction. Bob crafted several carefully worded statements for the family during these months as necessary, but we did our best to stick to our initial decision, and in the end it did pay off. My family is extremely grateful to the jury and so relieved that the monster who murdered our Lizzie will be in prison forever. We will never get Lizzie back, and we will miss her for the rest of our days, but knowing that he will not be able to do this to another young woman is of some consolation. There are several topics raised during the trial on which I'd like to comment. First of all, to the cellmates of the perpetrator, thank you for coming forward and doing the right thing. I know it was hard for each of you to testify, and I also know that I'm very grateful that you did. To Roberta Gerken and Paul Hickok, how could you possibly believe that the perpetrator and co-conspirator of Lizzie's murder would do the right thing and call 911? If they were going to do the right thing, why did they call you first? It's my humble opinion that neither of you were brave enough to call because neither of you were willing to get involved. You also mentioned that calling 911 would not have made a difference anyway, but I beg to differ. If either one of you had decided to be brave and call, we would have gotten Lizzie back so that we could have a proper funeral and burial. After all the other horrible acts that were perpetrated on my beautiful daughter, your decision to allow them to perpetrate one final horrendous act, throwing my baby's body into the river, is just too much. I know you tried to help by eventually working with authorities as part of the one-party conversations, but this will never begin to make up for anything as far as I'm concerned. Your initial lack of compassion and action is just too much to overcome. together, Mrs. McDonough. I can tell you from experience that the worst day of your life is not receiving news of your daughter's arrest. I could not believe you said that in open court. It's just so tasteless. And finally, to the public defenders, my daughter's name was Elizabeth. She was not your friend. You didn't even know her, and you had no right to use any nickname at all. Then you couldn't even get her nickname correctly. It was Lizzi, Lizzi. Really not that hard. It was not Liz, as you insisted upon using throughout the case. Although I suppose that was easier to spell, but I digress. I believe you did this to make her sound older, but she was only 19, and this tricked no one. You treated witnesses rudely and disrespectfully. You used misinformation, half-truths, and misdirection throughout the trial. Your filthy characterizations of my baby were all lies. And the 8.5 days that we had to put up with your flamboyantly grandiose, repetitive cross-examination was just absurd. I tried not to listen to either one of you because I knew that everything you said was untrue. But I was truly astounded when you stood up in open court and on the record and said that if the judge allowed the prosecution to play the beginning of Miss McDonough's grand jury testimony, that you'd just put her back on the stand for another 5 days. What gall. You'd think your mother-in-law was Chief Justice of the New Hampshire Supreme Court or something. Oh, that's right, she is. No wonder you feel entitled. Must be good to have coattails to ride. Fortunately, you failed. You did not fool the jury. You did not fool the judge. Your defendant was found guilty because he was guilty. We can now grieve and celebrate Lizzie's life properly. Thank you so much, everyone, today. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak. All right.
The judge is his wife.
Oh, okay, well, even better. And now we go with the entitlement.